What's up everyone, Durdam this side. For those of you who are visiting my channel for the first time, I'm a PhD student living in Germany and I'm in my third year. So the topic I'm going to discuss today is a very sensitive topic, and especially if you are a student who is doing their masters currently, or you are passed out, you have completed your masters and looking for a PhD and looking to enter this research field, or if you are currently doing job and also you are trying to switch to or thinking of switching to PhD field or research field, please watch this video to the end before you made up your mind. I'm going to talk about some very crucial and important topics that as a viewer or as a PhD aspirant you should know, especially if you are planning to do your PhD from India. Now, the purpose of this video is not to demotivate or discourage anyone who wants to pursue PhD. What I'm going to talk about, it's more facts and what I have observed from my own experience, and also after talking to several students, even the current students and scientists who are working in India, even abroad. And before starting the video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do consider hitting that red button down there. It's free and it would really motivate me to keep making such informative video for you guys. So let's begin. So I'll start with the admission process of a PhD position in India. So how the whole process starts and where it starts becoming a problem. If you are a PhD student, if you want to do PhD from India, you need some kind of fellowship. These fellowships are provided by organizations like CSIR, DBT, Department of Biotechnology, UGC. There are other kinds of fellowships as well, but these are the main institutions that provide fellowship for PhD students. Now, in order to get these these fellowships, you have to clear some kind of exams. These are CSIR-NET, UGC-NET, or DBT-NET. There is GATE also, but if you clear GATE you won't get any fellowship. But if you go to some IIT or NIT for getting a PhD, they might give you some internal fellowship, but you would not be able to get a fellowship from these CSIR or DBT institutions. So GATE is a separate topic, but I'll focus on these mainstream exams. These CSIR-NET and DBT-NET and these kind of exams. These are what most 90% of the students go for, whether you are from any field of life sciences like chemistry, biology, botany, computational biology, whatever field you are from, you would go for these kind of exams to get a PhD fellowship. Now, the process of getting these fellowships, you have to write an exam. This is MCQ based exam. And you have to get a certain number of marks. That's a cutoff marks for NET, plain NET exam. That's national eligibility test. If you get plain NET, you would not get a fellowship, but you would be eligible for lecturership position. Now here the point is, you are eligible, but you do not certainly get any kind of serious advantage by just qualifying NET. You are eligible for lecturership positions, but these days the competition is so high that by just clearing NET and going for a lecturership position, you would probably not get it in a reputed institute, because the competition is so high and there are so many PhD students these days in the job market. Now, the whole structure of this exam is like that. Many students who are from interdisciplinary field, they would have significant disadvantage while clearing these kind of exams, because here, in order to clear such exams, you have to mug up tons and tons of theory, complete theoretical knowledge. And to be honest, does it really help to mug up such huge amount of information of which you might not even use it in your PhD work? So PhD is your PhD research would be a very specific field, would be a very specific topic. And for that, in order to go into that phase, you have to clear these kind of exams, which are not actually testing your research aptitude or whether you are suitable to do work on that particular topic or not. No, this is something that it's a general funnel process, and it's the same with other exams in India. It's what the format demands from students, that you have to mug up all this information of various fields. There are 13 or 14 subjects in this CSIR-NET exam, and you have to study really hard to clear these exams. Now, if your master's is something from like a life science field or a botany or a very general biology related field, you might have certain advantage in some subjects, but still you have to study a lot to clear these exams, and this is not easy. There are 16 to like 10 to 15 lakh students appearing in this exam, and each year the cutoff for JRF, Junior Research Fellowship, the first cutoff is NET, that you clear plain NET exam. This is generally 100 to 110 marks, and then for JRF it goes up to 125, 120, this much marks out of 200. So first barrier, or first I would say the reality is that, is it really a good way to select for a position like a PhD? Because PhD, I believe something is related to complete. It's a research work, it's not a coursework. It's a research work on which the student works on a very specific topic. For this, he has to, or they have to clear such exams. I mean, you can write down in the comment section below, how do you feel about these kind of exams? Is it really a good measure to see if a student is fit for a PhD project or not? So that's a big question according to me, what I feel, and many students get discouraged by this type of exams. Now, it's not like the only option to clear this exam and then you go for these PhD positions. There's also another options for getting paid or getting fellowship and getting a PhD position, but those options are even more horrible, guys. So for example, you do not have any of these exams, you were not able to clear it. So now what the second option would be, that you join into some project. This project is funded by a lab, and basically जो lab का supervisor है, उसका project है कोई, उसके लिए उसके पास funding है, and he hired you as a project assistant. So basically you would be doing your research work in the institute, and you would be registered as a PhD student in the university. So both the university and the institute would have some kind of collaboration. Now, in this kind of scenario, the fellowship that you get is quite equal, almost equal to what you would get from clearing these exams, CSIR or DBT NET. The whole funding would completely depend on how long for the project is. The project duration ends. When the project ends, your fellowship would end. It does not matter whether you are still doing PhD or not, because the funding that you are getting, it's not really for your PhD. It's for a project in which you are employed. If a project ends or a project funding stops, then you do not get paid anything. So that's always a risk that you would carry with these type of research positions or PhD positions. Now, we talked about how the whole process of entering into a PhD field is. Before we continue with the video, a small request to all of the viewers. If you are not subscribed to the channel, do consider hitting that red button. It would really motivate me. I see that many of you watch my video regularly but are not subscribed to the channel. So please subscribe to the channel, and let's continue with the video. Now let's talk about the duration of PhD. So guys, the general duration of PhD, or the fellowship duration, the amount of duration for which you would get paid by these fellowships, CSIR or DBT, is generally 5 years. Initial 2 years would be as a junior research fellowship, and then the next 3 years is a senior research fellowship. There is slight hike in the fellowship after 2 years, initial 2 years. And if, for example, I assume that most students finish their PhD within the 5 years, but in case you do not finish your PhD in 5 years, then you're screwed. You would not get any fellowship after the end of 5 years. So then the students have real problems. And in many fields like virology field or like plant related field, where the research work is generally really long. There are many fields, but I would not go into that much detail. So if you are a student and you're doing your PhD and you, for example, somehow did not get good results, or you had some clash or misunderstanding with your supervisor, many things can go wrong. Thousand things can go wrong during your PhD, and very few things can go right. And at the end, if you are able to submit within the end of 5 years, then you consider yourself lucky, because many students, I have seen them, they are doing their PhD for 7 8 years, and last 2 years they are working basically unpaid. And if your supervisor is good enough, then he might arrange some kind of internal funding for you, but for most of the students it does not work that way. So that is also one challenge. Now I'll give you some perspective how this is in Europe, because I'm doing my PhD from Germany. So here the general duration is 3 years, right? So a student is expected to finish the PhD in 3 years, and if not, then you would get also some 1 year or 6 months extension. But generally most PhD students finish the PhD in these 3 to 4 years. If you see the fellowship difference, in India it's 31,000 for junior research fellowship and 35,000 or 34,000 for the senior research fellowship. But in Germany it's very different, or in European countries the whole fellowship scheme or the salary scheme is quite different. Here you would earn significantly higher amount of fellowship. I have talked about this whole comparison of PhD fellowship in India and in Germany in one of my previous videos. I'll add the card somewhere up. You can go check it out. So the duration is also a matter, that 5 years in India, and in most European countries is 3 years. In USA it's also generally 5 to 6 years, 4 to 5 years. In USA it's same as in India. Now the funding, guys, I have touched about this funding topic briefly, but I'll tell you a very harsh reality of the whole funding process in India. So imagine you pass out your MSc and you are, let's say, 22 23 years old. That's the general age or the average age of pass outs of master students in India. And then you join a PhD, and similarly your some other friend or your batchmate, he joins some IT company. So after 5 years you would be still earning 35,000 max. That's what you would get max. And it's non-taxable income, so complete 35,000 you would get in hand. But if you would see the similar person who went into some IT job or some computer science related field, these data science related fields, they would be like doing a job, they would earn significantly higher salary. But now after finishing your PhD you might think, now I am much more higher educated, I have a higher degree level than my other colleague who has still the master's level. Okay, he has job experience of 5 years and he is earning significantly higher. He would most likely earn twice the money you would be earning. That's the hard reality, guys, that you would see in most of the states in India. So now the mental satisfaction that you would have, that you have a higher degree than your colleague, and that would give you better job opportunities. But guys, in the job sector it does not work like that. In job sector they would ask for real job experience, how many years of experience you have. And your PhD research work is not really a job experience, it's a research experience. Now you would go into a R&D sector job, that is most likely a postdoctoral. So what you do after your doctoral studies is a postdoc. And most PhD students would go into this job. And getting a good postdoc fellowship is also not very easy. You would here the maximum salary you would get like 60 to 70,000 in hand for a postdoc position, and this is nothing permanent. So this is, you might get a 2-year fellowship to or a maximum 3-year fellowship. So even after finishing your PhD, it's not like you would land a significantly higher earning salary job compared to what the other student would be getting who went to some IT sector or the computer science sector, which are really high demanding jobs. So that's a very hard reality, and you would find yourself financially much weaker than your colleagues. And for me, I think it's a big factor, but also I would assume that for many students, that's a very harsh reality that you would have to face after finishing your PhD. Is the amount of money that you are getting as a PhD student, is it good enough or not? It's completely subjective. For many of you, it might be good enough. I have been actually through this whole hike phase. So last hike of PhD salary was back in, I think, 2018, and the hike process, if the students who were there in India back in 2018 during this, and if you were in the research field at that time, you would know what was the whole process in the whole country. The students from all over the country, from different research institutes, they were protesting day and night. I was also one of them. So we used to go sit in front of the CSIR office, Department of Biotechnology office, with these posters and saying that you have to give more salary. It was give us some hike in the salary or something, because generally, like, the before the fellowship was 25,000 and 29,000. There are several universities where the PhD students are working who do not have any fellowship, who do not have any CSR or DBT fellowship, and they are working on a university provided fellowship that's generally 5,000 rupees for junior research fellows, and for senior research fellows it's 8,000 rupees. Now just imagine, guys, the amount of inflation that is happening in 2022. A PhD student who is working from morning to evening, 9 to 6 or 9 to 7, let's say, and he is getting per month 5,000 rupees. That's not even sufficient to pay off the rent, monthly rent. And that is something, I don't know how the universities are still okay with this, but this is a very harsh reality of many students. Even some of my friends, they are working as a PhD student in their fourth year, and they are getting paid 8 or 10,000 rupees per month, which is nothing, I would say. So that's a very harsh reality, guys. Now, during your PhD, the whole now I'll talk about the whole PhD life experience. Now, the PhD is about exploring the research, getting to interact with fellow research community, going to these conferences, workshops, presenting your work, listening to big shot researchers. That's how you would improve as a researcher, as an individual. The PhD process gives you an enormous opportunity to work on yourself and work on your research aptitude and talk to people, get better at communication skills. But how would you do that? You would do that by presenting, by giving talk in seminars, symposiums. You would really want to go to some international conference or international workshops. But how would you get funding for this? If you want to go to, if you are a PhD student in India and you want to attend a conference that is happening somewhere in Europe, the flight tickets, the staying tickets, your food, the whole traveling expense, staying, the whole the whole expense of the attending the conference, how would you get it? There is no fellowship for that kind of thing. You get, PhD students get some annual contingency money, but it's really not sufficient for attending some kind of international conference. So this is also a huge drawback of Indian PhD students. So I would tell you my experience. I gave a talk in an international conference that is in some other country in Europe, and the whole journey, my stay, my flight tickets were covered in by my lab. So that is what a huge difference comes. And if you do not attend such international conferences, you would really do not grow as a researcher. You are not communicating with the updated research people who are in your field, and that would really impact your PhD quality, the quality of your PhD. एंड कभी कभी आप जाना इस टाइप के इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस में, जो एनवायरनमेंट होता है ना वहाँ पे, वो एक अलग ही लेवल का एनवायरनमेंट होता है. एंड the whole there is no funding available for Indian PhD students to attend such type of international conferences. Now the final part: once you finish your PhD, you are done, you have a doctorate degree, and if you are planning to go for some kind of academic job like a scientist job or some kind of a professorship, assistant professorship job, you have to have some kind of postdoctoral experience. Now guys, most of the scientists or any researcher that is getting hired by a reputed institute in India, see their profile. They would have a significant research experience from abroad, either from Europe or from USA. 10 years back, if you see a professor's profile, you would not find a huge amount of abroad research experience. But these days, the scientists who are getting hired into a permanent research position, like a staff scientist or a assistant professor, see their profile, guys. They would have a foreign experience for sure. Even in India, there is a very reputed fellowship called Ramalinga Swami Fellowship. The essential requirement, one of the essential requirement of that fellowship is that you have to have, after your PhD, at least 3 years abroad experience, research experience. Now, why is that? See, research field is a very global field. It's not like you get everything in India. Everything is not available. You have to connect with global researchers. You have to collaborate with global researchers on a global scale. Then only you would be a successful scientist or a researcher. Why I'm talking about this thing is that once you're entering into this field, think long. It's not a 1 or 2 year career period or degree period that you would finish. Once you finish, you have to think what you do after that. So keep all these things in mind. Then only make a decision whether you want to do PhD from India or you want to do PhD from abroad. So finishing this video, some final remarks. Again, the purpose of this video is not to discourage students from doing PhD in India. There are some really good scientists in India, some really good labs, and many students who cannot come to abroad for PhD for several thousand of reasons, family reasons, or whatever the reason you have. If you are planning to do a PhD from India, it's fine. The purpose of my video is to keep you informed about all the pros and cons, what kind of problems you would face, so that you can work your way out of it. If you do not know what kind of problem you're going to face, then you're not going to find a solution. The purpose of this video is to make you aware, so that you would be able to make a good decision for yourself. That's it for this video, guys. I hope ये वीडियो आपको informative लगी हो, and please hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. It would really motivate me. I'll see you next time. Till then, keep learning and help out each other. See you guys. Bye bye.